Today's interview is with Sales and Business Development Maverick from Chicago, Greg Molinaro. I've personally known Greg for a few years now, and the campfire stories are always about how to make more sales and business development. Today, Greg is going to give us an overview of how he took a division in a business from nearly zero customers to 11 million a year turnover. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Hello, Jonathan. Thank you.
Nice to see you. After today's interview, I'm going to do further interviews with Greg, drilling down on exactly what sales and business development techniques he employed and what exactly did Greg do to generate 10 million a year in sales. If you like this sort of content and want to see the up and coming videos with Greg and learn exactly how he did it, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give Greg a big thumbs up. So Greg, let's hear the big campfire story. Where did it all start and how did it unfold?
Well, thank you, Jonathan. So just to give a little bit of a background, how things really started is I got my electrical engineering degree and I found myself as a project manager working for a small company that designed control systems for automating manufacturing, machinery and processes. It was a great experience, especially right away. And it was totally unexpected. Like it wasn't anything like I had studied in school or in university. And it was what got me into manufacturing and automation and that world. And after a while, I ended up in sales, which was totally unexpected, and learned a tremendous amount about not just product, but about business and about interacting with people and about the kinds of questions to ask and what to look for and really how to be professional in the job. And then I had some moved on in my career and had some more experience in data collection, inventory warehouse management, so being able to understand and help work with people from receiving raw material through the process in the plant and then in the warehouse with finished goods or inventory, and then found my way into real business development work and some consulting through private equity or working with a private equity firm. And that's really where I cut my teeth on developing business, new technologies out in the market, new customers, areas that were really untouched, at least for that particular company, and what it really takes to break in and to understand where, what's needed, how to approach things, how to develop that business. And then had the opportunity with a machine builder, so a company that builds machinery into manufacturing for automating the process. In this particular case, they produce machines that bag frozen food or regular food and for grocery stores. And really interesting working through project managing and the process of how the machine starts in engineering and goes all the way through until it's installed. Amazing experience, great customers, great group of people, and all the previous experience really helped build up to that. And then over the past 6, 7 years, really taking all of the experience from early sales, controls engineering and design, project management, inventory, warehouse management, data collection, but more importantly, all the business development throughout the years, which we can talk about more what that really means, and helping to break into a business or into a market for the business that is the largest market in the world, being food and beverage and packaging. Uh, for a company that had very little to no presence in that market and in the Americas, really being able to help put a strategy together, uh, be able to what kind of approach to take, what customers to focus on, who at the customer, to try to get in contact with. I'm sure we'll talk at length later about what kind of effort was really required. And putting a strategy together around all of that and really what it takes to get attention in not just from the customer, but internally at the company and the support needed to go out and drive that new business and then able to understand the real needs and wants of the market and the customers and how to then provide that and deliver that in order to be able to develop it and then being able to take it from virtually almost no customer base to 11 million in 5 years.
That's great. So I understand you've got this background in electrical engineering, automation, and then you've just progressed from there into sales. But you've started in an area where there's hardly anything, and you've had to sit down, work out the strategy, figure out the planning, and figure out how to sell, basically. Is that right?
Sure. Well, the story goes pretty far, Jonathan, and it started off with investigating, really investigating the market. The first the first year was really out and visiting and interviewing customers. We had a target of having 100 customer visits, and I believe that we did achieve that and then some, where you know getting out into the market, mainly in the United States, and just finding out like, hey, we have this idea that this is what's needed and wanted. Basically that's what it was like. It was just asking certain questions like, what are the primary needs? What are the things that are delaying production or causing production to stop? What's interfering with the productivity? And it really came down to a couple of basic topics, which was, you know, the business was driven around productivity and profitability, and they go hand in hand. The more productive the business is or the production is, the more productive things are, the more profitable they are. And then there were certain challenges that we identified that were impacting the profitability and the productivity. And then I was able to look at it and say, well, what does the company I work for, what do we do, and what is our core competency? Like, what are we really good at in the market? And highlighting those areas or those types of solutions and saying, well, if these are the challenges that you have, they're impacting productivity and profitability. Well, here are solutions that can help improve productivity, which will then help increase profitability, which will then help address the challenges that you have.
Okay, so you've actually sat down and done some economics type of business survey. You've understood your client's needs, and you've then seen how your company can fit in and help, basically help a company. And that's how you've grown the sales. And that's pretty genius. It's actually, getting in there and finding out what companies really need instead of trying to just assume what people need. That's that's the way to go. I like it.
That's exactly it, Jonathan. In fact, it hit me right between the eyes right away. Less than 2 months. Actually, it was only a month after starting in the new position in the new company. I went to visit, um, a customer, the machine builder that I used to work at, and met with their head of or the manager of the R&D group. And I don't know what I was thinking because I knew it wasn't the way to approach things to just walk in and start talking about a product. But I did because I was kind of comfortable and a little too relaxed and I knew the person and I thought, well, if I just talk about this product, then I'll get the feedback. Well, I walked in and I'm like, hey, there's this sensor, this product in manufacturing, and before I finished my sentence, he just said, well, we don't use those. And I'm like, wow, it was lunch. We were at the restaurant. We hadn't really even gotten the menus yet. And what am I going to do now for the next hour? So we just, I mean, it was fine and we talked and it was good to catch up, but it taught me a big lesson that I had learned a long time before, but for whatever reason didn't get the fact that it needs to be done and applied all the time, which is asking the questions, finding out the information first. What is the real situation? Like, what's going on with the person, with the company, with the project, whatever it might be. And then talking about what the challenges are. What are the things that are happening that are preventing or that are getting in the way or that are difficulties? But really, I like to consider them challenges because when you talk about, there are all kinds of sales books out there and they talk about the pain. Yes, of course, people are going to be focused on the things that are causing them the most difficulty or pain, if you will. But there are a number of other aspects of business that are challenging, but they're not pain. They could be part of their objectives. It could be they're trying to design a new machine. That's not necessarily a bad or a negative, but it is a challenge. Anyway, um, so I kind of went back to the drawing board and better understood the applications. And a couple months later, 3, 4 months later, I met with the same person, had dinner, and I'm like, we were talking about, or let's talk about this application, this topic in manufacturing of, how customers change their machines over based on the production run. And so we had a discussion about that application and the challenges that companies face and operators have and the engineers on the plant floor have during that process. And then he added a lot. He's like, well, yeah, we see these kinds of difficulties and it takes this much time and it costs this much money and so on. And I said, well, that's really great. And how do you see that on the machines that you make? And then he started to explain it some more. And then it opened up the door to a solution. I said, well, what do you think about using this kind of a device to help with those situations and applications? And then that was just smooth and natural and worked really well. And he ended up designing multiple sensors into the new machine that he had come up with and designed within the next 12 months. So that was really a great example of, really having the conversation and understanding the whole situation and what's really going on and what the real challenges are instead of just here's a product. And so I took that from right at the beginning and said, okay, this is the approach. Here's how we want to approach, all of the market, all the customers, and here are these areas that have, that are solutions, these kinds of applications that the company has solutions for, and how it ties back to addressing the challenges so that we could have more of a dialogue and a discussion about things rather than just, pitching a product, pitch, 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 pitch.
Okay, I get it. So you've gone through certain motions, figured out what worked, what didn't work, and basically created a formula for yourself on how to go ahead and do business, how to interact with companies, and it's worked. You've now got um, sales moving up, 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 obviously, because you got to a point where you did 11 million a year. So what's it like when you figure it all out and you're just doing it and the sales are going up? Tell me about that.
Well, sure, Jonathan. I mean, it seems like that's how things are happening. At the same time, it's the hardest part in the development and the whole process is taking those incremental wins because they might seem small, but they really are the foundation to bigger gains. And so, what really had to occur was gaining the interest and the agreement and the mind share of the people inside the company I worked for, because it wasn't just me. I wasn't the only person from a sales standpoint out talking to customers. I mean, there's an entire sales team across the US, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, all throughout Europe. Um, and it was really helping to show that this approach really worked because people were used to just selling components. And I actually ran into several occasions where, I called it a solution because we're providing a solution to the problem or providing something that will solve or help address the challenge. It's a solution. And it was like, hey, we don't provide systems or solutions. We provide components. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's solving something. And so that took a little bit of time, but it was really, by going out and showing by example. So being in the meetings with customers, talking through things this way, getting customers interested, helping to shorten the amount of time from first engagement to actually purchasing something. That's what I feel really started to help get the momentum, and then showing people that it can work, and then getting people trained and able to do more of that themselves. Great. So over several years then, well, actually it was 3 or 4 years of continuing the process, looking at, hey, who do we want to focus on engaging and helping, and understanding more and more about each of those individual companies' needs, and then providing that, doing it in a manner of, what are the business challenges? How's it impacting your productivity and profitability? And here are solutions for those challenges, little by little. And then it started to build up more and more to where we ended up having, you know, a large global beverage company acquire almost $1 million in 1 year of a solution across 3 different countries in 4 or 5 different um, facilities. And so it's a bit of a snowball effect. And really, the big additional part of the strategy was duplicating the successes in multinational companies, and working, getting a success, say in Sao Paulo, and then talking with the same company with different people in different locations in Mexico and Argentina and in the US and in Canada, and saying, hey, we're helping your company in this other country, and this is what we're doing. And then they started to talk with each other internally, and then we're able to keep them up to speed on our progress. And so then they could see, oh, well, hey, we're not a guinea pig, or this is working elsewhere, let's implement it. And so we were able to do that with several very large global companies, and that was a big part of the strategy. Duplicating multinational successes, being strategic and focused, having enough patience and persistence to stay the course, and not feel like, oh well, it's been 3, 4, 6 months and we're not sure. No, we know what's happening. Let's stay the course, and able to do that. So between those basic concepts and then adding in, hey, look, what's the real effort that it's going to take to break in, to engage, to find the contacts, to um, find an opportunity within those contacts that we found, to make ourselves known. All of that effort, it's a lot of work. And it doesn't just happen with 1 or 2 phone calls or sending a text message or a LinkedIn message or one email or whatever. And so really, doing it, it's like this formula, this cycle of repeat and repeat and repeat, and then it starts to break loose. And that's what really got us there, and what really did it, and got more and more momentum. And then you got to keep doing the things that were working, and then adjusting a little bit at a time and adding more, and there you go.
So what I see from that, Greg, is there's a real extensive career. There's a real in-depth knowledge of sales, marketing, planning, strategy, everything all involved. So in the subsequent interviews to come, we're going to cover things like strategy, marketing. How did you actually figure out who to speak to? What did you do when you found that person, and how did you sit them down, and all that sort of juicy stuff? And what else?
Oh, absolutely. Those are key factors. How much effort is required so that you have the proper estimation and expectations in general between um, yourself, the effort required, internally, training, the sales cycle, the customers, all of it. Uh, the strategy itself, how you can put that together and organize it. And it's really about the team and persistence and showing up, believing in it. You've got to be sold on it, and we can talk about what that means. I've got a nice story from an old friend of mine that shared his ideas of how that should work. And I mean, I'm sure I'm leaving out a number of aspects of it, but um, you know, what are the sequence of events that should occur? And really, it's just about all of these things together. Are what business development, like what does that really mean? Getting everybody on the same page, and then just getting out there and doing the work. It is work. It's not just snap of the fingers and something happens. And I really feel that what I took from a lot of the experience is having more familiarity then with what is really required, so then I know what to expect, and it prevents more possibility, or how can I say it, it's easy to become discouraged. It's very easy to become discouraged. And having all of this in place, I think, really helps in understanding the whole process so that you're less likely to be discouraged.
Absolutely, yeah, I get it. So you've got the emotional side of sales, good and bad. There's a lot. We've got a lot to talk about. Well,
Yes, we do.
exactly. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and we'll see you very soon, and we'll start going through each one of the points of what it takes to get something done in sales.
Looking forward to it.
Excellent, Greg. Thanks. So that was Greg Molinaro. There's a big story here. There's an awful lot to go over, and Greg is very willing to explain everything. How did he actually deal with customers? How did he deal with the emotion? How did he deal with life internally within the company? There's a really great success story here. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And yeah, my advice is, if you have any questions, put it in the comments below. Just write question and write the comment, and then I'll read through those, and we can start having a look and seeing how we can put those into the show as well, and present the questions to Greg. Other than that, we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.